You're watching To The Point and I'm Anjana Om Kashyap. Pakistan can now take credit for one more terrorist. Yes, Syed Salahuddin is another global terrorist that Pakistan harbors. United States has declared Salahuddin a global terrorist. Pakistan calls him Kashmir's freedom fighter, but back home, the Congress party calls it complicit sellout. Is the Congress party undermining India's Salahuddin trump card? Face-off between former INB Minister Manish Tewari and Sambit Patra. But first, take a look at this report.
Hours after Hizbul Mujahideen chief Syed Salahuddin released a bloody appeal to unleash violence in Kashmir in his Eid message, the United States designated him a global terrorist in what would be one of the biggest moves to clamp down on his terror network. The statement was unequivocal, terming Salahuddin a terror mastermind. The order means his properties subject to US jurisdiction can be seized. It also prohibits US nationals from engaging in transactions with Salahuddin and his terror groups.
Given the challenges that the two countries have faced and continue to face, and the rest of the world and the rest of humanity also faces from this global menace of terrorism, the discussions in the courtesy call by Secretary Tillerson on the Prime Minister touched upon how the two sides have cooperated in countering terrorism.
This US classification is a major embarrassment for Pakistan, where Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif hailed Salahuddin's minion Burhan Wani as a hero.
Burhan Wani, the young leader murdered by Indian forces, has emerged as a symbol of the latest Kashmiri Intifada, a popular and peaceful freedom movement led by Kashmiris, young and old, men and women, armed only with an undying faith in the legitimacy of their cause and a hunger for freedom in their hearts.
Pakistan, as expected, remains unapologetic. The Foreign Office in Islamabad has slammed the US move, saying that calling those supporting the Kashmiri right to self-determination as terrorists is unjustified. The Congress has, however, questioned Modi's Salahuddin victory.
President Trump has named North Korea and applauded India's efforts in joining the coalition against North Korea. But there's no reference to Pakistan in his remarks. Similarly, even his interpretation of Islamic terrorism is very different from India's interpretation of cross-border terrorism, which is sponsored and which emanates from Pakistan.
Salahuddin remains one of the rallying points of the best-known faces of terror in South Asia, having engineered some of the biggest terror attacks in India. Though the US designation is being seen as a big move, some are, however, questioning it, saying a similar classification for Hafiz Saeed in 2014 has not stopped the Jamaat chief from conducting his agenda in India. With Geeta Mohan in Washington, D.C., Bureau Report, India Today.
We are being joined by senior leader of the Congress party, Manish Tewari, BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra, former diplomat Shiv Mukherji, and defense analyst Brigadier B.D. Mishra. I first want to come to you, Manish Tewari, because, sir, the big question is that India is happy because Salahuddin has been declared a global terrorist. Now, in terms of what this wins for India, we have actually managed to nail Pakistan, and what they've been calling Kashmir's freedom fight is now being called just sponsored terrorism by Pakistan, because this Salahuddin also lives in Pakistan. Why is the Congress hell-bent in calling this a complicit sellout?
Well, let me make 5 or 6 quick points, Anjana, since you do not have the ability to be able to take me on the video link.
Yes, sir.
First of all, the visit has been extremely disappointing, to say the least, because stripped of its hype and hoopla, the fact remains that even on the question of terror, which you raised up front, the United States of America has a very different conception of Islamist terror as compared to our concerns with regard to terror which emanates from Pakistan. And this is evidenced by the track record of the US going back to 2001, whereby they have used their electronic assets, they've used their intelligence assets, they've used their drones, they've used special forces with regard to the western border of Pakistan, essentially to try and combat and surmount the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the Afghan Taliban, the Haqqani network, etc. But with regard to those terror groups which target India, whether it's the Lashkar-e-Taiba, whether it's the Jaish-e-Mohammed, or it's the Sapa-e-Sibai, or it's the Jamaat-ul-Dawa, there has been absolutely no substantive action, even in terms of intelligence sharing, over the past 16 years. So therefore, while you have a reference to Syed Salahuddin being designated as an international terrorist who was operating, incidentally, if you read that notification, in Indian-administered Kashmir, which we should have taken objection to in the first instance itself, but the fact is that, this pro forma recreation with regard to 2611 and Pakistan should be doing more to bring the perpetrators to justice has been staple going back to 2008. So in substantive terms, when you look at the track record of the United States of America, their legitimate concerns in this region are on the western border of Pakistan. And as I was earlier pointing out, that President Trump, allow me to complete as President Trump.
But I have a question to what you said previously, sir.
North Korea, in his remarks. But he refrained from referring to Pakistan, notwithstanding the fact that both North Korea and Pakistan figure in the joint statement.
No, but if you understand what it means, Hizbul Mujahideen has been acting against India, right? Let's get some basics here out of this Salahuddin context. Hasn't Hizbul Mujahideen been acting against India in Jammu and Kashmir?
Well, Lashkar-e-Taiba was proscribed in 2008. Has America been able to lean on Pakistan in order to stop the Lashkar from operating from the territory of Pakistan? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. The proof of the pudding is not in pro forma declarations in joint statements or otherwise.
No, but this complicit sellout is what I'm trying to understand. Are you alleging that because America agreed to call him a global terrorist, we agreed to saying India administered Jammu and Kashmir? What is this complicit sellout that Congress party is saying and claiming and alleging?
Look, I do not know as to who's used the terminology of a sellout. If I recall my own statements, I don't think I have ever articulated that position. But in terms of substantive takeaways, even on the question of terror, I think a pro forma reference to Syed Salahuddin, which needs to be followed up by concrete action, both by the United Nations as well as the United States of America, in order not only to impose a travel ban, but more importantly to get the activities of the Hizbul Mujahideen proscribed within Pakistan. There is a lot of walking to be done on this talking.
Okay. Point well made. Please respond to that, Sambit Patra. I think if we are too happy with this, we've reached nowhere, because Hafiz Saeed to a whole lot of other terrorists have been declared global terrorists. But how will we ensure that we are able to bring them to justice?
See, Anjana, first and foremost, with all due respect to Manish Tewari, who is not only a former minister but also an erudite speaker, let me tell you, if you want to find an excuse to criticize, there's always an excuse to criticize, even if none exists.
No, but what is substantive?
So that's what the stand of the Congress party has been.
What is it that you've substantively gained out of this?
Before Mr. Modi. Now, I'll answer that question.
Yeah.
You have to give me some. No, I'll tell you all those questions. I'll answer all those questions. But let us also not forget the fact that even before Mr. Modi went inside the White House, even before Modi spent that time with Mr. Trump, Mr. Ranjit Surjewala had held a press conference yesterday already criticizing the talk which had not happened. So criticism was always on the way as far as the Congress is concerned. But now coming to the substantiative question as to what the US has done as far as Hizbul Mujahideen is concerned, they have declared it, they have proscribed it. What have they done as far as Hafiz Saeed and the JUD is concerned, let me remind you of the fact that despite the fact that the Hafiz Saeed and his terror organization JUD was proscribed way back, but still Hafiz Saeed was getting the logistic support of Pakistani government. He was roaming free in Pakistan. After the advent of the Trump administration and diplomatic push of the Modi government, the fist was shown to Pakistan, and today even if it's a rhetoric, though it's a rhetoric way in which Pakistan has pushed Hafiz Saeed behind the bars, at least Hafiz Saeed is not roaming the same way as he was in the yesteryears. Second and very important question, well, we all knew in the yesteryears that there were military, militant
what does this substantively mean for India, sir? He's not roaming as freely as he was roaming before. I'm sorry.
Military bases.
No, I'm sorry, Sambit, I will have to come in. He's not roaming as freely as he was roaming before. Is this what we stand to gain? Is this what we stand to gain,
I'll tell you what it substantively, I'll tell you what it means. Let me know. I'll tell you what it means. Let me tell you. First and foremost, it's not for the first time that India and the Indian government has demanded through brochures to US that they declare Hizbul Mujahideen and its Aka, Mr. Syed Salahuddin, as a terrorist. Umpteen number of times in the yesteryears, the governments have been doing so. For the first time, the US has in fact designated him as a global terrorist. Now, what do we gain out of it? Number one, there would be sanction on any economic activities which would be funding this organization. All the people across the globe who would be collecting money to fund this organization, previously it was going unabated. Today, it cannot go unabated. Number two, if you would read the statement, you would realize that assets of this Syed Salahuddin, the terrorist, and his organization, if they are anywhere in countries which are friendly to US, all those assets would be freezed. So it is not that these are just ornamental words which are mentioned in a piece of paper. There are actions which follow as well. But I would add to it, and I would stand by what you have questioned. It's not that Uncle America would do everything for us.
Yes.
We also have to fight our own battle.
Yes.
This is a global world where we have to take our concerns to the global platform where other countries come together. But at the end of the day, we have to show the kind of courage that we have shown in surgical strike. And that's what I was saying, Anjana, that yesterday's government of Manmohan Singh also knew of the terror camps across the LOC. Did they do something about it? No.
Answer that, Manish Tewari, before I go to Brigadier Mishra.
They did. And then all the countries, because of his diplomatic stand, stood by Mr. Modi's decision.
Let Manish respond to that. Manish, he says...
Well, the only difference between the cross-border operations which were carried out between 1998 and 2014 across different governments, including an NDA BJP government, and the one carried out after Uri, was that this government decided to publicly proclaim it. When the Hindu front paged a story with regard to a similar cross-border operation carried out in 2013, there was no denial from the government. So therefore, you know, to pat yourself on the back that you've done something unique, well, the only thing unique which they did was that they acknowledged it. And I'm not being cynical out here, Anjana, but the fact remains, did that stop the border action teams of Pakistan from operating? Is it not a fact that 2 Indian soldiers were beheaded? Is it not a fact that 2 Indian soldiers lost their lives last week in a similar operation which were conducted? So therefore, I think it's time to get real. It's time to go beyond the rhetoric, and it's time to, well, take substantive action if you claim that you have the capacity to be able to do it.
Answer that, Sambit, before I go to the others.
Can I, Anjana, can I make a
Yes,
quick...
please.
Can I? Yes. First and foremost, as far as real action on the ground is concerned, is it not true that even before Mr. Modi visited America, in fact, in a goodwill gesture, in carrying forward his diplomatic stand, Dan Coates, the Director of National Intelligence of Mr. Trump's government, came out, held a press conference, and in front of the whole world, accused Pakistan of propagating terrorism and said that if peace was disturbed in the area, it was because of Pakistan, and India is not to be blamed anywhere. America stands by India. Number two, it was not just on papers. Remember, then 5 individuals were sanctioned, and these were the individuals who were funding the JUD and the LET. Secondly, and very importantly, remember, the talks are on. We had seen the Reuters also reporting on this, that US government is thinking of degrading or downsizing the major NATO ally position.
My question remains, Sambit, my question remains, this, that and that, but not Salahuddin. just a moment. This, that, but not Salahuddin, not Hafiz Saeed. Ultimately, they've been declared global terrorists. Until we get them, India can go no further. And beyond that, if we didn't get a concrete word on Pakistan's official pro-terrorism strategy, what do we stand to gain from this, Brigadier Mishra, is my question.
No, we have. The joint statement has a mention of Pakistan also, Anjana. The joint statement has a mention of Pakistan. It is quite wrong on the part of the Congress party to say that the joint statement does not mention Pakistan.
Which exact line are you referring to, Mr. Patra?
Pakistan is mentioned.
Which exact line are you referring to, Mr. Patra?
To ensure, I'm reading out those lines. The leaders called on Pakistan to ensure that its territory is not used to launch terrorist attack on the other countries. They further called on Pakistan to expeditiously bring to justice the perpetrators of 26/11 Mumbai, Pathankot and other cross-border terrorist attacks perpetrated by Pakistan-based groups. These are the lines in which we have the name of Pakistan thrice. 3 times we have the name of Pakistan, and we have on the first page itself we have the name of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Jaish-e-Muhammad, Lashkar-e-Taiba and D Company. So naturally, once thrice directly and once the organizations which have root in Pakistan have been mentioned. No words have been minced over here, Anjana.
So Manish, it's about they have managed to corner Pakistan is what the BJP is saying.
Anjana, may I point out very respectfully, is it the first time that Pakistan has been called out? This is a standard formulation which has been a part of every Indo-US joint statement going back to 2008. And that's what I was pointing out. While there is a pro forma condemnation, but when it comes to conduct, the United States, for reasons right or wrong, has a completely different standard when it comes to dealing with terror on the western border of Pakistan, and a completely different standard when it comes to dealing with terror which emanates from the eastern border of Pakistan. And may I also respectfully point out that the day Prime Minister Modi landed in the United States of America in Washington, D.C., the U.S. government actually dismantled the special representative to Afghanistan and Pakistan, the SRAP, which was headed by Richard Holbrooke at one point in time, and which held the field for all these years, was dismantled, and Pakistan was put back in the South Asia and the Central Asia Bureau of the State Department. And as we speak, the review which is taking place in Washington, D.C. with regard to America's policy is not QE Afghanistan and Pakistan. It is QE the policy of the United States towards South Asia. And if somebody would read the op-ed which was written by their former deputy NSA and NSA during the Bush years in the New York Times, Stephen Hadley, they actually say that if you want to stabilize Afghanistan, you have to sort out India and Pakistan. That's
quick
the
question
direction in which US policy is heading.
Fine, sir. So nothing tangible is what the Congress is claiming. A quick response from you. Are they undermining India's Salahuddin victory?
I get, as a soldier, I get slightly disappointed. You see, in Kashmir, there's a war situation, and there are 8 infantry divisions deployed. And what they are doing? They are fighting against the terrorists who are instigated, who are fed, who are weaponed, who are armed by Pakistan. And in that, Hizbul Mujahideen and Salahuddin, they have got, this organization, they have got major role. And today,
this man that we see,
exactly.
Syed Salahuddin, he's like the symbol of this Pak-sponsored terrorism.
Trump administration has named him, has designated him as a global terrorist.
So what will happen now?
And now
we have a whole lot of global terrorists operating from Pakistan, sir.
Then in our own country, if we start saying that, look, this is all eyewash, there is sellout, there is this and that. Now, what are we trying to convey to the soldier who is fighting? He is getting a morale booster because even America has said that this man, he's a terrorist. He's a global terrorist. And today, in our own country, if we doubt that it is not so, and there's a sellout, I think soldier will get disappointed. One more. Short of combat action, there are many good things which will come. Even the sharing of information, and money laundering, and all these things will help our operation.
Manish.
Well, Anjana, I don't think calling a spade there is anything wrong with that, and the Indian soldier does not get motivation from the stance which the United States of America takes. The fact that Hafiz Saeed is proscribed, did not stop him from leading the Eid prayers yesterday at the headquarters of the Jamaatul Dawa in Muridke. So, therefore, what does proscribed mean? The fact is that you can mention anything in a joint statement. The fact is you can take whatever actions which you deem appropriate, but has it reigned in Pakistan in any manner?
No.
And the answer is no.
That's not
you know, we were being pilloried that we were not doing enough on the 2611 trial, despite giving all those dossiers to Pakistan, which had substantive evidence of how 2611 was planned, executed by the Pakistanis. But may I just point out, and I'm not being cynical out here, even the current government has been able to do precious little in the last 3 years. And the reason is because the behavior of the deep state of Pakistan is so insidious that while they took billions of dollars from the United States of America to defang the Al-Qaeda, they actually sheltered Osama bin Laden. So therefore you are dealing with an extremely insidious and extremely manipulative state, which as we speak, you know, unfortunately the United States of America this year has increased its assistance too. The assistance which was frozen by the United States of America has just been released.
I'm afraid we'll have to slip into a quick break. I'm afraid we'll have to slip into a quick break. Brigadier wants to respond to that. Sambit wants to respond to that. But after a quick break, we'll come to you, Shiv Mukherji. Because what does this actually, India stand to gain from this is the big question. Because we have a list of global terrorists who operate out of Pakistan. Nothing has happened so far. Mukherji, with apologies, sir, because we're coming into you a little late. My straightforward question to you is that we're seeing this BJP versus Congress within the country. What does India stand to gain from getting Syed Salahuddin declared as a global terrorist in terms of India-Pakistan?
Well, let me be concise. As far as your mention of the BJP-Congress standoff is concerned, I have very little to say. Because that is a predictable outcome from adversarial political parties, not for me to comment, except for one thing, which is important. Having been in the job for 40 years, you know, once upon a time, we used to talk about something real, something not ephemeral, not just rhetorical, but real, called the National Consensus on Foreign Policy. And over the last few years, I and many others like me feel that that consensus has completely broken down, and that as far as foreign policy is concerned, politics reigns, domestic politics and adversarial positions rule good sense. That's all I have to say on that. As far as Syed Salahuddin is concerned, look, let me present a few facts for your viewers, whichever way they want to see it. It is entirely true that proscribing Syed Salahuddin, declaring him as a terrorist, global terrorist, is not going to curb his activities within Pakistan or stop Pakistan being in denial over terrorism. It will do exactly what it has done before. It will be in denial. It will make token gestures once in a while of house arrests and so on and so forth. It will do whatever it takes aimed at, you know, sort of placating America and trying to keep it on its side, trying to keep the military and economic aid going, trying to continue with the bugbear they present America with being the only, you know, the moderate Islamic nation that they will otherwise lose, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, it is an achievement for Indian foreign policy. Foreign policy sometimes is not spectacular quantum jumps. Most often it is persistent, patient presentation of our views and presentation of evidence. In this particular case, of course, the US has more evidence about Pakistani perfidy than any other country, including India. And the fact that this has happened shows that at least America realizes it has to make these gestures to show that they are not completely blind. They don't have their head in the sand.
Very well said, sir. Thank you so much.
But it does not go beyond, and this is something we cannot expect. We cannot expect the US to lift up these terrorists and hand them over to us. We have to do that heavy lifting ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you all of you for joining me in this debate. But before I end it, Manish, I just want to ask you a very simple, basic, small question with a one-line or two-line answer. He said, Mr. Mukherji, that now we've reached a stage in this country where we lack consensus even on foreign affairs. We are not able to put India as India ends up being BJP versus Congress. Do you think, as the Brigadier said, manufacturing this kind of skepticism is acceptable, and won't the Congress party be blamed for it even when terrorists are concerned? Just a two-line answer to that.
Well, let me give you a two-line answer, Anjana, straight off the bat. Number one, I don't think that the breakdown on consensus in foreign policy is essentially a bad thing. According to me, it's actually a good thing that everything is debated threadbare. Number two, who broke the consensus? The consensus was actually broken by the BJP when the Congress took the next steps in strategic partnership formulated by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee IV and actually set the terms of the defense relationship with the US in 2005,
yes,
followed by the Indo-US civil nuclear engagement. And who brought the...
I think this debate is endless and it will go on for a very long time, but I'm afraid I'll have to leave it there. Thank you all of you for joining me in this debate. Yes, Syed Salahuddin has been declared a global terrorist, but a long way to go from here. Keep watching India Today.